Hi everyone, welcome back to Numerics with Nadia. In today's lesson, we're going to cover how to multiply and divide fractions. So let's first start out with how to multiply fractions. So up until this point in our fractions playlist, so far we've done adding fractions and subtracting fractions with the same and different denominators. Now we'll do multiplying. So the way that we multiply, right, we know the components of our fractions. What we will do is we will multiply the numerators together. So numerator times numerator, and then we will multiply the denominators together. So denominator times denominator. So now let's apply these steps with a few examples. So for our first one, let's do 2/3 times 1/8. So I'm going to go through and circle our numerators in blue in our examples. So 2 and 1 are our numerators. We're going to be multiplying them together. And I'm going to circle our denominators in green just so we can see the difference. Our denominators are 3 and 8. So numerators get multiplied together. 2 times 1 gives me 2. And denominators get multiplied together. So 3 times 8 will give me 24. We will simplify these in a later video, so we can just leave our answer as that for now. Now let's move to number 2. We can do 1/6 times 4/9. I'll again circle our numerators. Our numerators are 1 and 4, and our denominators are 6 and 9. So we'll do 1 times 4, that will give us 4 as our numerator. And then we will do 6 times 9, that'll give us 54 as our denominator. So we'll get 4/54 for number 2. So for number 3, let's do 5/7 times 6/8. So our numerators, again, I'll circle them in blue for us. 5 and 6 are our numerators. Our denominators are 7 and 8, and they're circled in green. So we'll multiply our numerators together. 6 times 5 gives me 30, and 7 times 8 gives me 56. Now that we've done a few examples multiplying fractions to fractions, let's do a few multiplying a fraction times a whole number. So let's do 2/11 times 3. Now 3, if you remember in our first lesson, if you haven't watched that video yet, it's called What Are Fractions? 3 is a whole number, its denominator is 1. So we can rewrite this as 2/11 times 3/1. And now it's exactly like the steps before. Our numerators are 2 and 3. I'll circle them in blue. Denominators are 11 and 1, circled them in green, and we'll multiply across just like we did before. 2 times 3 gives me 6, 11 times 1 gives me 11. Let's do one more for practice. We did a fraction times a whole number. Now we'll do a whole number times a fraction. So for number 5, we'll have 5 times 8/10. Same as before, 5 is our whole number. 5 is equivalent to 5/1. Our denominator of whole numbers is always 1. So we'll have 5/1 times 8/10 when we rewrite it. Our numerators will multiply together. We have 5 and 8. And our denominators are 1 and 10. So we will multiply numerator times numerator. 5 times 8 gives me 40. Denominator times denominator, 1 times 10 gives me 10. And since this is an introductory video on how to multiply fractions and divide fractions, we're just going to leave our answers as is. We're going to learn how to simplify fractions in a later video. Having a strong understanding on how to multiply fractions is really going to help us in dividing fractions. So let's go through now and define how we're going to divide fractions. So how I like to teach this is in 3 easy steps. I call it stay, switch, flip. And I'm going to color code these so when we go through and solve these problems, you'll be able to easily spot exactly which step I'm doing. So stay is going to be orange, switch will be red, and flip will be purple. Let's go through here and do a few examples to demonstrate these. So for number 1, we can do 2/3 divided by 1/4. So we're gonna keep our first fraction the same, so the 2/3 gonna stay. We're gonna switch our division sign to a multiplication sign, and we're gonna flip the last fraction. So instead of 1/4, it's gonna be 4/1. And now it's the same multiplying steps as before. So numerator times numerator, circled them in blue, denominator times denominator. So we're going to do 2 times 4, we will get 8, and 3 times 1 will give me 3. Let's do another example now. So for number 2, we can do 5/7 divided by 2/9. So we're going to we're going to keep the first fraction the same. So the 5/7 will stay. I'm going to switch my division sign to a multiplication sign, and I'm going to flip the last fraction to 9/2 instead of 2/9. And then we have same as before, right? Multiplying 2 fractions, we will multiply the numerators together. Our numerators are 9 and 5, we'll get 45. And the denominator 7 times 2 will give us 14. Let's do one more example of dividing fractions. We will do 4/5 divided by 3/6. So same steps. We're going to keep our first fraction the same. Our 4/5 is going to stay. We're going to switch our division sign to a multiplication sign, and we are going to flip the 3/6 to 6/3. Now we'll go through, and just like before, we're multiplying fractions together, right? So numerators times numerators, 4 times 6, and denominator times denominator will have 5 times 3. So 4 times 6 will give me 24, and 5 times 3 gives me 15. So now that we've divided fractions by fractions, let's divide a whole number by a fraction. So for number 4, we have 9 divided by 6/5. And 9, any whole number is going to have a denominator of 1, so 9 will be the same as 9/1. We'll go through and I'll rewrite our problem. We're going to keep the 9/1. We're going to switch division and multiplication, and we're going to flip our fraction to 5/6. So same as before, we'll multiply our numerators together, 9 times 5, and our denominators together, 1 times 6. So we will get 45/6. Let's do one final example today. We'll do a fraction divided by a whole number. So we'll do 7/12 divided by 8. And 8, just like before, its denominator is 1 because it is a whole number, right? So we'll do the same steps. We'll stay, the 7/12 will stay. We will switch our division to multiplication, and we will flip our fraction 8, which is 8/1. We'll flip that to 1/8. And I'll go through and circle our numerators and denominators again. We will do 7 times 1 for our numerators and 12 times 8 for our denominators. 7 times 1 will give me 7. 12 times 8, we want to make sure you guys remember your 8 times tables and your 12 times tables. 12 times 8 gives me 96, so I'll get 7/96 for this last problem. All right, and that is all for multiplying and dividing fractions. I hope it was relatively straightforward for you guys, and I will see you guys in the next video.